Hello all, welcome to Kalike, and today we are going to talk about a concept called motion. So as the name itself suggests, we are going to talk about motion of different objects that you see around us. So motion is something that you see in your everyday life around you. You see a lot of objects moving, which are in some sort of a movement. You basically see a car moving, or you walk from one place to another place. There are people running around, there are people jogging, going on in their everyday walks, right? So there are certain kinds of movement that you see around you in your everyday life. Apart from that, you also see leaves falling from a tree, or water flowing down a dam, right? So there are certain kinds of motion. Along with that, you also see the automobiles or aeroplanes carrying people from one place to another place. So these are all various kinds of motion that you see around you in your everyday life, right? But the best part is you also see the earth. You, although you do not notice that you are in movement, the earth as such is continuously rotating about its own axis every 24 hours, causing the day and night effect, which is also the classic example of motion. Apart from that, even the earth also revolves around the sun every year, which leads to different seasons like rainy season, summer season, spring, autumn, and other seasons that we experience, right? So these are all various examples, everyday examples of motion. Apart from that, even the solar system, it is in movement around a particular galaxy. We also say everything in the universe is in continuous motion. So motion or movement as such is really a very exciting concept, where understanding how this happens and why this happens is what this chapter is all about. So in this chapter, we are mainly concerned about objects moving along a particular straight line. So objects having a linear motion, objects moving in a straight line, and such a kind of motion is what we refer to as rectilinear motion. Okay, so basically in this chapter, or the entire session, all the other sessions that I'm going to upload, or I'm going to talk about or lecture you about motion, will involve the quantities like velocity, average velocity, speed, average speed, instantaneous velocity, acceleration, instantaneous acceleration. And you also see all of these quantities or derivations that we are going to do further will revolve around a concept called constant acceleration. You will see all the derivations that we do further in this chapter will concern about objects moving with constant acceleration. Okay, now that comes when I define these terms. But before that, we also make an assumption about the objects that are in motion. So we call these objects which are in motion as point objects in physics. Now, when can I call an object as a point object? For example, take the example of a car. Okay, can I call car a point object? No, it is really huge. You can really visibly, it is so much, it is visible to your eyes. It's not really a point object, but it can be referred to as point object in physics if the size of the object is negligible compared to the distance the object covers. Suppose it covers 1,000 kilometers, suppose it covers 200, 300 kilometers. So compared to the amount of distance it travels, if the size of the object is negligible, you can call such objects or refer to such objects in physics as point objects. So basically, we will refer to all vehicles or automobiles that we are going to use as a case of an object moving. We will refer to them here for henceforth as point objects. Okay, so this is a very important point. So when I refer point object, by that I mean the size of the object itself is very much negligible compared to the distance covered by that particular object. So that is why we refer these objects in physics as point objects. Well, now we will explore two different, derived physical quantities called distance and displacement. Now, before I do that, when do you say that an object has covered a particular distance? When the position of an object changes from one point to another point with respect to time, right? So for example, there is a vehicle which I already mentioned that all the objects that we will be referring to, all the vehicles or the automobiles that we are referring to, henceforth will be referred to as point objects. So I refer to it as point objects. So a car moving along a straight line. Remember, we are only talking about objects moving along a straight line. So when I say a car moving along a straight line, I would refer to it as a point object moving along a straight line in a particular direction, right? So imagine a point object is moving from this point. I will call this point as x0, which is the initial position of the object. And after some time, suppose this here the time is 0. Okay, the time, when you see you have not started your clock and the object is at rest. So x0, which is the position of the object, suppose it is moving along a scale. It covers a distance of about, let's say, 20 meters. This is x1, which is the final position of the object, and that is, let's say, 20 meters, and that happens in, when your clock is on, let's say it covers that distance in about 2 seconds. Okay, so let me call this as T0 and this as T1. Or you can also call this as x1 and t1 and this as x2 and t2. It's absolutely up to you. You can refer to it as x0 when it is, as it is the initial position, or some people even refer to it as x1 and this as the final position. X2 time is t1 and the final time is t2. Okay, now so basically the object is changing its position with respect to time. So you see the time has elapsed. How much time has elapsed? When you started the clock, you see by the time it reaches x1, the point x1, where it has covered a distance or a length of about 20 meters, the total time elapsed is 2 seconds. So the object has covered a distance of 20 meters in 2 seconds. So that is what you refer to as the distance covered. What is the total distance covered? So even the displacement or the distance covered by the object is about 20 meters in about a time period of 2 seconds. Now, is there a difference between distance or displacement, or both of them, do they refer to the same thing, that is the change in position? Do distance refer to change in position? Does displacements also refer to change in position? Yes, they do. They are the same. They both refer to change in position of an object, which we call either the distance covered by the object or the displacement covered by the object. But there is a very subtle difference, very important difference between distance and displacement, which I'll explain you through an example. Okay, let's say the object started from this point x1 in about t is equal to 0, t1 is equal to 0 when the clock has not been turned down. Now the object moves like this, reaches the position x2 in a time t2, where x2 is, I'll take the same example, 20 meters covered in 2 seconds. Okay, and then it was traveling from x1 to x2, and then it comes back to the same position, taking the same time. It takes another 2 seconds to come back to this position. Now the object started from here, reached the final position x2, and then this doesn't become the final position now, because this will be x1 and this will be x2, and then it came to another halt. The final position was x final, where it has covered minus 20. It has moved along the negative x-axis. It has covered a distance of minus 20 meters within 2 seconds. So if someone asks you to calculate what is the total length or what is the total distance covered by the point object, then you say 20 plus 20, it traveled 20 to east and 20 to west. So this is the east direction, this is the west direction. So it traveled 20 kilometers to the east and 20 kilometers to the west. So the distance traveled is about, not kilometers, sorry, meters. So it traveled a distance, a total length of 40 meters, which we refer to as the distance covered by the object. Now, if someone asks me to calculate the displacement covered by the object, then I say it started from the same point and ended back on the same point. So the initial position, so you see it covered a distance of 20. You take into account the minus sign also, because when we are dealing with displacement, we take into account the direction as well. This you learn later when we introduce you something called scalars and vectors. So distance is a scalar quantity where you take into account only the magnitude of the length or the distance traveled, whereas when we are referring to displacement, we also take into account the magnitude or the length along with the direction in which the object is traveling. So the object is traveling 20 meters to east and the object travels back 20 meters in the west direction. So plus 20 and minus 20 gets cancelled. So when I refer to displacement, it will be 20 minus 20. So practically it has traveled nothing. So null. So when you refer to displacement, the object has covered zero displacement. There has been no change in position of the object whatsoever, because it started from this position whereas it came back to the same position. So we refer to displacement as the change or the difference in the initial and final position of the object. So when you see the difference turns out to be zero. So therefore the displacement or the net displacement of the object is nil, null or zero. It has absolutely not changed its position. Although it has changed its position, it has come back to its own initial position, because we refer this quantity as the vector quantity and we take into account the direction. How do you take into account the direction of an object? It is attributed to the signs. If it is moving in the positive direction, that is towards east, it will be plus 20. If it travels along the negative x direction, it will be referred to as minus 20. It is towards west along the negative x-axis. So plus 20 minus 20, the total or the net displacement of the object will be 0. Whereas here you are taking into account only the length traveled irrespective of the direction. Although it traveled along the positive x-axis covering a distance or a length of about 20 meters and traveling a length of about 20 meters along the negative y-axis, even then when you are referring to distance, we only refer to it as the magnitude. We do not bother what direction it is traveling. We are only concerned about the magnitude of the length it covers. So therefore here no direction is taken into account. We are not worried whether it is traveling along positive x-axis, negative x-axis, y-axis or whatever. It is only 20 plus 20 that leads us to 40 meters. So in the same example where it traveled along the same direction, traveled the same length, displacement we always take into account the direction, meaning the sign, whereas distance we do not take into account the sign, because we are not bothered about what direction it is traveling. All we are concerned is about the length or the magnitude along which it travels. Hence, so in distance, what do? You calculate distance is only x1 plus x2. That is, you are calculating the length, initial length. Okay, let me call this as the initial length covered. Okay, initial length covered plus the final length covered by the point object in a given time. So it can never be zero. This quantity will never be zero. Practically this cannot be 0. Whereas displacement, so this can be, okay, yeah, this can be written as displacement will be equal to final length covered, okay, final length covered, or we can say instead of final length covered, we will take into account the positions. Final position, we just do not take. Why am I referring to final position? Because we are taking into account the direction as well. So instead of calling it as final length covered, I am more bothered about the position which it is in, because the position can change along with the direction. Whereas when I'm concerned only about the magnitude, I do not want to know what position is it in. I only want to know what is the length covered when I'm dealing with distances. So it is final position minus the initial position. So that will be equal to x2 minus x1. This will be your delta x. Here this will be your delta x. This also is, you can call, you can just call the distance. Some people call it as x. So this is x will be equal to, or x net, you can call it as the total length covered is final length plus the initial length, or the initial length plus the final length. Whereas when you are dealing with displacement, you are more concerned about the position, because we are also bothered about the direction in which the object is traveling. Okay, it is as good as, suppose I start from this point, I moved this distance, okay, I covered something, I go backward, I'm at the same position. So that means the displacement covered by me is 0, because I came back to the same position. It is as good as I've not made any movement at all. I'm back at my initial position. Whereas when I'm talking about length, this distance, I moved this distance, say about 5 or 10 centimeter, and I moved back 10 centimeter. So the total length I covered was 10 centimeter plus 10 centimeter, which will be 20 centimeter. Whereas when I'm talking about displacement, did I displace? No, absolutely not. I moved 10 centimeter forward, 10 centimeter or backward. So absolutely there was no displacement. I did not displace. I moved and I moved back. So they get cancelled because I am taking into account the direction as well. So this is very important for you to understand the other derived quantities like average velocity, acceleration and stuff. So please keep this in mind. Any doubts, you can always write it in the comments. So now we are going to talk about average velocity. What is average velocity? How do you define it and how do you understand it, taking your everyday examples? Okay, so average velocity, which is denoted by the letter V average, we denote it by V average. In short, we write it as AVG. So V average is defined as the total displacement of an object over a period of time. So it is basically total displacement divided by time taken. So remember, it is displacement and not distance traveled. There is a specific difference that we have already spoken in the previous session. So total displacement divided by time taken. When I say time taken, it has to be the total time taken. Now, how did we define displacement? Displacement was final position minus the initial position. Suppose the object was traveling. Let's take this example. The object has traveled this distance, where x1 was its initial position and x2 is its final position. It started at a time t1 and it reached the final position final position x2 in a time t2. Then it is the difference of final position minus the initial position. So V average mathematically can be written as the final position x2, or which is x final minus x initial, okay, divided by t final minus t initial. So what is x final? X final is x2. So I will replace this by x2 minus, what was the initial position? It was x1. So I'll replace this by x1 whole divided by the final time was t2. So I'll replace t final by t2 minus t initial is t1. So this will be your average velocity. This is how you mathematically represent average velocity. What is the SI unit? This is displacement. Displacement is nothing but the length. So therefore length is measured in meters in SI. Time is measured in seconds. It can also be written as simply V average is equal to x2 minus x1 is delta x divided by delta t, where delta is the small change in length or the small change in displacement to small change in time period. So what is average velocity? Average velocity is the change in the displacement, or the total displacement of an object to the total time taken to cover that displacement. Now why am I calling it as displacement and not distance? Because when we are calculating the average velocity, we are also bothered about the direction in which that point object is traveling. Not only we are bothered about the magnitude, we are bothered both about the magnitude and the direction in which the point object is traveling. So just like displacement is a vector physical quantity, even velocity or average velocity is also a vector quantity, a vector physical quantity. So okay, so where both direction and magnitude are taken into account. For example, now suppose here again this is the positive x direction and this is the negative x direction. Suppose it covers a distance or a length of about 20 meters. An object is moving from x1 to x2, initially covering a distance about 20 meters. So the final position, what was the final position? This value is 20. So the initial position was 0, but now the object travels back in the negative x direction. So what will be the final position be again? The final position again here will be 20. So what will be the net displacement of the object? It is like I started from here, I covered this distance, I came back. So I am at the same place. I did not really displace, or there was absolutely no movement, because my position remains the same at the end of a certain time. Therefore, it is as good to say I did not displace at all. My position has been the same. There is no change in position. Although there was a change in position for a certain amount of time, I came back when the clock was stopped. So literally I have not displaced. My position remains the same. Since my position remains the same, here in this case, average velocity, which is your x2 minus x1, will be plus 20 minus 20. Why minus 20? Because one is traveling along the positive x direction. Again, it travels back along the negative x direction. So 20 minus 20 divided by whatever time it was. Okay, let's say if I take 2 seconds here and 2 seconds here, let's say it is 4 seconds. So 20 minus 20 is 0 by 4. So what is the average velocity? It is 0. So if the net displacement of a point object is 0, then the average velocity covered by the object is 0. So potentially, although you walk that distance, you spent that energy, but when you mathematically or according to physics, when you calculate it, the number turns out to be 0. It is as good as saying you did not do anything at all. There was no displacement. There was no average velocity, right? So a car, taking reverse. A car moves a certain distance and then it takes reverse and comes back to the same distance. So what was the average velocity of the car? Null, 0. Because the displacement was 0, it has come back to the same initial position. So mathematically it has to be 0. This is a very, very important point. Also keep in mind, average velocity gives you the total displacement or the overall displacement. What was the overall displacement? Why do I say that? Overall displacement was this And back to this, so that gives you the overall displacement of an object over a given period of time. So it doesn't give you at a certain instant of time. Let's say I know that it covered a length of about 20 meters plus 20 meters over a time period. What was that time period? 2 seconds. Now if someone asks me what was the distance covered by the object at 0.1 second, I don't know, I don't have the answer, right? We cannot tell the distance or the displacement of the object at a particular time instant when we are talking about average velocity. So average velocity only talks about a certain magnitude in a certain amount of time. So the time is spread out. So I know I covered so much displacement, or I displaced so much in a particular range of time. So 0 to 2, within 2 seconds, I was able to cover about 10 centimeters, or here in this case, the object was able to cover about 20 meters in about 2 seconds. But if someone comes and asks me, could you please tell me what was the velocity at, let's say, 0.1 second or 0.05 seconds, I absolutely have no idea, because there is no way to calculate it using the given mathematical equations that we have here. The only information we have here is we have the final position, we have the initial position, we do have the directions. So I can only tell you at this amount of time, at about 4 overall time, which was, what was the overall time? It took about 2 seconds here, 2 seconds here, 20 meters here, 20 meters back here. The position remains the change. The position remains the same, although there has been some time elapsed, right? The time elapsed was 4 seconds. Although the time elapsed was 4 seconds, it did not change its position. It came back to the same position. Hence, we are talking only about the overall displacement over a period of time, and we cannot specifically say what was the average velocity of the point object at a specific time or at a particular instant of time. And that is where we define a term, something called instantaneous velocity, which gives you the velocity of an object at a particular instant. So when I talk about instantaneous velocity, somebody stops me and asks, what was your velocity at 0.1 second, t is equal to 0.1 second at a particular instant, I will be able to answer only when I define a term called instantaneous velocity and not average velocity, because average velocity basically speaks about the overall displacement of an object over a given period of time, right? It's over a given period of time and not at a particular instant of time. That is where we introduce the term called instantaneous velocity. So before we hop on to understanding or jump on to understanding what instantaneous velocity is, how do we mathematically calculate it, I'd like to bring your notice or understand average, a little bit more of average velocity with the example of a graph. Okay, let's say you are being given an equation where x is equal to 2t. So this is the relationship between displacement and time. Let's calculate the values of x1, x2, x3 at various values for t1, t2, t3, t4. Okay, now if you have this, it becomes really easy to calculate. So let me calculate it here. At t is equal to 1 second, x will be equal to 2 times of t is 1, substitute t there. So the value of 2 will be 2 meters, right? So let's start plotting a graph. This will be your time axis, okay, t, and this will be your x-axis. So we're basically plotting displacement versus time, and this is the origin, right? Now at t is equal to 2 seconds, what will be the value of x? X will be 2 times 2, because the value of t is 2 here. 2 times 2 is 4 meters. So at 2 seconds, x is supposed to cover a displacement of 4 meters. At t is equal to, let's say, 3 seconds, x will be equal to 2 times, what is the value of t according to this equation? 2 times 3 will be about 6 meters. At t is equal to 4 seconds, you see that x will be equal to 2 times of 4, because the value of t is 4. I am substituting in the given above equation. 2 times 4 is about 8 meters. So I stop it here. You can go on, right? But I will only plot it for 4 points. So let's say this is, how many do we need? X, what is the initial time? 1 second to 0 to 4 seconds, right? So I'm plotting it from 0 to 4 seconds of time, whereas this I will plot for about how much? 2 to 8 meters. So 0 to 8 meters is the plot for this whole thing. For this whole thing, I have to only plot about 4 seconds, because that is all I have calculated. So how are we going to branch it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's say if this is 0, I'll call this 1, this will be 2, this will be 3, and this will be your 4. So this is 1 second, this is 2 second, this is 3 second, and this will be 4 seconds. So you have to say t in seconds. You always have to mention what unit you are referring to whenever you write a graph. So t is measured in second, x is measured in meters. So it has to be 2, 4, 6, 8. I can jump 2. So I will jump here. This I will call it as 2. This I will call it as 4. This I will call it as 6. And this I will call it as 8 meters. Now how do you plot the graph? Let's plot the graph. At t is equal to 1 second, x has to be 2. So where should your point be? Your point has to be here, right? So this will be 1 point. This is 1, 2. X is equal to 1, 2 is your point. So this point is 1, 2. 1 which is t and 2 which is x. What will be the next point? At t is equal to 2 seconds, you have to plot 4 minutes, right? So therefore, at t is equal to 2 seconds, at t is equal to 2 seconds, it will be 4 meters. It covers a displacement of about 4 meters. So this point will be 2, 4. What is 2? 2 is the time at which it covered a displacement of about 4 meters. Hence, again, at t is equal to 3, it covers a displacement of 6 meters. So we plot this as well. So this will be your third point, that is 3, 6. At t is equal to 3 meters, it covered a displacement of about 6 meters. Now at t is equal to 4 seconds, it covers a displacement of about 8 meters. So this is your final plot, right? So this will be your final point, which is 4, 8. So this is t and this is x, right? So t, you can call it as t1, x1, t2, x2, t3, x3, and t4, x4. So that is your different 4 times that you are measuring. Now let's join these points. You can join at, we do not have, at t is equal to 0, x might be 0, x will be 0 if you substitute. So it is basically a straight line, right? Now suppose I want you to calculate the average velocity of this. How do you calculate the average velocity? The average velocity is, what is the final initial position? So let's calculate the average velocity. V average is equal to x2 minus x1 divided by t2 minus t1, right? So if you are calculating only between these 2 points, you can take, you have the values, you can find out. Only between these 2, again you have to calculate. So here we can calculate. Now if, let's calculate for these 2. T2 is 2 seconds and T1 is 1 second. So 2 minus 1, and then what were the values of x1 and x2? x2 was 4 and this was 2. So 4 minus 2, this would be 2 divided by 1. So it is 2 meter per second. So for a change in time of about 1 second, that is 2 minus 1, it covered a displacement of about 2 meter per second in the positive x direction, because if you have no sign here, it means it is plus 2. So therefore it traveled, if you write the direction, you can say in the positive x direction, it was traveling in positive x direction. So you always have to write it. So always a good practice to write the direction, because it's a vector quantity. So you I mean if you practice it in the beginning, it will not you're not going to feel it's going to be really difficult, right? Now if I have to calculate it for this 3 to 4 seconds, there also I can calculate similarly. V average will be, now time will be 4 minus 3, which will be 1, and this will be 8 minus 6, which is again 2. So it is moving with the constant velocity, as you can see, again in the positive x direction. If I have to do it graphically, then also what do? You take the slope of this. So we write a triangle here. See the values. These are your values. This is your t1 and this is your x1, and this will be your t2 and this will be your x2. So substitute the values of t1 and x1. So delta x here in this case will be, how much is x2 minus x1? x2 is 6, x1 is 2. So 6 minus 2 will be 4 divided by t2 minus t1. t2 is 3 and this is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. Again you get 2 meter per second for this. So this is how you mathematically calculate. So you find the difference. 6 minus 2, you can see this length is 6 minus 2, which is 3, right? And this length is 6 minus 2 is not 3, 6 minus 2 is 4, right? 6, this is the value of x2 and this is the value of x1. So delta x, how much is delta x? 4 meter. How much is delta t in this case? In this length, 3 minus 1, which is again 2 meter. So 4 divided by 2, which I have done, is 2 meter per second. So this is how you mathematically or graphically, not mathematically, graphically calculate or find out the average velocity. Now we will take the same example, okay, and try to learn how to calculate the instantaneous velocity at a particular instant. Well, now it is time to understand what is instantaneous velocity. First, we will understand it mathematically and then I'll explain you using this graph. So as I explained earlier, instantaneous velocity, unlike average velocity, which was calculated for overall displacement for an overall period of time, instantaneous velocity is the displacement covered by an object at a particular instant, at a particular number. So I am very specific in time. I say now here it was covered for a particular distance and a particular time period. So what was the particular time period? We were trying to calculate it here for about 2 seconds. Right? So we were trying to calculate. So sorry, this was meant to be seconds. I wrote it as meter. So so we were calculating it for an average time period. So what was the average time period? For over a span of 2 seconds. But then if I want to calculate at a particular instant, let's say I want to know what is the velocity of this instantaneous velocity of this point object at 1 second. Immediately, since I had this equation x is equal to 2 times t, it becomes mathematically easy. At t is equal to 1 second, I know x is equal to 2 times of substitute the value of t in this given equation, it will be equal to 2 meters. So it is shown graphically also. At at t is equal to 1 second, instant, at that particular instant of time, nowhere else, nowhere over a average time period. So at particular instant, I know at t is equal to 1, I can easily calculate the speed with which it was traveling. At that particular instant, you have to calculate the speed, right? So you can calculate the distance. What at that particular instant, it covered a displacement, it had a displacement over 2 meters. So when I'm mathematically describing instantaneous velocity, or I'm defining instantaneous velocity. Instantaneous velocity is basically the velocity of an object at a particular instant of time, and not over an average period of time, not over a span of time. It is at a particular instant. So V instantaneous mathematically can be written as limit delta t tends to 0, delta x divided by delta t, which is written as V is equal to dx divided by dt. This is how you mathematically represent or write or calculate the instantaneous velocity of a given object. Now you need to understand this. Probably I assume you have not been introduced to something called calculus in mathematics. So this is something that you need to understand. When I say limit delta t tends to 0, that means, look at this graph. What is delta t here? 2 minus 1 we are calculating for this. What is delta t here? Delta t is 2 seconds. So delta t, I want to make delta t tending to 0. That means I want to reduce this time period so that there is no difference in time period. You understand my point? So this is 2 seconds, right? This is delta t that we are referring to. So now this delta t, I want to make it really 0. So what do? You go on decreasing the time. So here it will be 1 second, here it will be 0.5 second, again it will be 0.1 second. So assumably I want to bring delta t as if there is no t1 and t2. So delta t, the difference in time is absolutely 0. When I say I'm bringing it to that limit, I'm bringing it to that limit where the difference in time is 0. When I say difference in time is 0, that means I am calculating it at a particular instant of time, whereas I do not have values like T2 and T1 to calculate delta T, because I am assuming delta T is tending to 0. When I say delta T is tending to 0, that means there are no two values of time, which is T1 and T2. So hence I have only one single value of time, that is at a particular instant, which I refer to as instantaneous velocity. So you are limiting the value of delta t. When I say LIM, this refers to limit, short form of limit in calculus. You are limiting the value of the difference in the time. Then when I say difference in the time, it is not for a particular span of time. That particular, so if this was the span of time that you are calculating, I'm reducing it, I'm reducing it, I'm reducing it, I'm reducing it. I'm making this 0 such that T2 and T1 touch each other and they become t. That means I am calculating the value at a particular instant. So this value I calculate at a particular instant, delta t tending to 0. So when you apply, this becomes dx by dt. This is what we call differentiation. So dx by dt, since I have the value of x here, I substitute dt by d by dt of, substitute the value of x. What is the value of x? 2 times t, right? Now 2 is a constant, so this is called differentiation. There are various formulas that you need to remember in differentiation. I will show you one of this. So 2 will be taken out, d by dt of t. So dt gets cancelled, so you have 2 meter per second. So at a particular instant, what is its value at? I was calculating it at a particular instant. So you see that the instantaneous velocity at a particular instant was found to be 2 meter per second. I mean, when you have the equation, you can differentiate it. There are various formulas. So as we take various numericals, I'll take one now, and you will see you are basically reducing, right? Here you are calculating it for x2 and x1, t2 and t1. So this difference in time, I go on reducing. So all this won't be there. I want to reduce. I want to reduce. I want to reduce. So I want to make delta t 0 at a particular instant of time. See, at a particular instant of time, I know what is the velocity, that is the instantaneous velocity of 0. So you are limiting the difference of time or the span of time to 0. You are limiting them. T2 comes closer to T1 such that this difference is no longer existing. Delta T is no longer there. It is just T because T2 and T1 coincide. You are limiting them or you are bringing them closer, and you are calculating it at a particular instant of time. And you know, at a particular instant of time, how do you calculate? It is differentiation with respect to time. So you need to have an expression for x that will be given in the numericals. So you substitute the value of x and you differentiate. How do you differentiate? There are various formulas to differentiate. So when we take numerous numericals, you'll know what are the formulas, generic formulas that we will be using in this chapter in order to calculate the instantaneous velocity of a point object. Well, now let's take a numerical to understand how to mathematically calculate instantaneous velocity using differentiation and also average velocity. So here is a numerical. This is a very beautiful numerical. What does it say? It says the position of an object moving along the x-axis is given by x is equal to a plus bt square. So you have an expression connecting the position with the time. So you calculate for different times, you can easily calculate the position. Also, the problem gives you the value of a, where a is length 8.5 meter and b is velocity, because it is given in meter per second square. So it is 2.5 meter per second square, and t is in second. So please always note whether the given functions are in SI unit. Here let's take. So this is in meter, it is in SI. This is in meter per second square, this is in SI. This is in second, this is in SI. So all the SI units, all the physical quantities are given in SI units. So one problem solved, that we do not have to convert them to SI units in order to calculate the final result. So this makes our problem easy by one step. Okay, now let's take this equation. X is equal to a plus bt square. What is instantaneous velocity given by? Instantaneous velocity is given by v is equal to dx divided by dt. So you differentiate the function x with respect to time. Now dx by dt is d by dt of, what is the value of x? Let's write down, a plus bt square. Now this can be written as, let's separate them. This is a function a plus bt, so therefore this can be written as, since this is a constant, a is a constant, it has got a constant value. Differentiation of a will be 0, dA by dt, so this will be dA by dt, where a is the function, a is a constant, plus d, I'm just splitting the plus sign, okay. So d by dt of bt square, again b is a constant because it has got a constant value. So d by dA is the differentiation of a constant is 0. Please remember, d by dt of a constant, any constant value, will be equal to 0. So this will be 0 plus differentiation of this. Okay, now this will be, since these two are together functions, you cannot separate them. Now differentiation of this, d by dt of t square. There is a formula, whenever you have a power here, that whenever a number is raised to a particular power, when you differentiate that, you write the power first and then you write this. So x to the power of n is, and then you write the power and subtract it by 1. So basically the formula is, what formula am I using? I am using this, d by dt of x to the power of n, okay, or x to the power of, let me use the same so that you do not have a confusion. So d by dt of, let's say, okay, x to the power of n is equal to, you write the index first, that is n, into you write the function x to the power of n minus 1. So what is the value of n here? N is 2 here. So you write n first, which I have written, which is 2, into x. Instead of x you have t here, so I have written t, and then n minus 1. What is n? N is equal to 2. So therefore I write 2 minus 1, n minus 1, where n refers to the power. So therefore this becomes 2t into 2 minus 1. How much is 2 minus 1? It is t only. So it becomes 2t. So you have b into 2t, or this will be 2bt. So this becomes the value of v. So v is equal to 2bt. Okay, so now what you have, v is equal to 2bt. What are you supposed to calculate? So the first question is find v at t is equal to 0 and t is equal to 2 seconds, right? So at t is equal to 0, let's substitute the value of t. 2 will be equal to, v will be equal to 2 into, what is the value of b? 2.5, right? So 2.5 into 0, which will be equal to 0. So you got the answer. It was as simple as that. Now, you have to figure out what's the value of v at t is equal to 2 seconds. So at t is equal to 2 seconds, you can write it as seconds. Here also you can write it as seconds. V will be equal to 2 into 2.5, which is the value of b, into 2. So this will be 2 times 2 is 4. 25 fours are how much? I think it's 100. So you get 100, but then you have a decimal point. So therefore 10 meter per second square. Let's calculate if I'm right. So 2.5 into 4, this will be 4 5s are 20. You have 2, so 4 2s are 8, plus 2 is 10. So you have one decimal point here. So you have 10.0, which is 10 meter per second, which is the right answer. So we calculated the first part, right? Now what are you supposed to calculate next? Find average velocity between t is equal to 4 seconds and t is equal to 2 seconds. So v average by definition is x2 minus x1 divided by t2 minus t1. x1, t1 and t2 are given in the numerical, but are the values of x1 and x2 given? No. But how do you calculate the values of x2 and x1? By using this expression. Substitute the values of the given t's in the expression and a and b's in this given expression to find out what are the values for x1 and x2. So I'll give you some time, calculate it. I'm going to pause and then I will reveal the answer. Well, I guess you got the answer now. So I will reveal you the method to calculate it. So v was x2 minus x1. It's not just v, it is v average divided by t2 minus t1, right? Now we have to calculate the value of x, and x is given by, let's calculate on, let's calculate it here itself. So x is equal to a plus bt square, right? So what is the value of, we have to calculate x2 and x1. x1 is for time t1. So initial time is 2 seconds. This is the final time. So t2, x1 is equal to a. What is the value of a? 8.5 plus what is the value of b? 2.5. It is given in the numerical into time square, which is 2 square, sorry. So 2 times whole square. So this will be 8.5. We'll do it here. This will be 8.5 plus 25 into 4, which we did earlier. 25 into 4 is 100. So you get one decimal point because there's one decimal point here. So 8.5 plus 10, you can do the calculation here if you do not know. 8.5 and this is 10.0. This will be 18.5. So the value of x is 18.5 meter. Please write the units. Units are very important. If you do not write the units, you are certainly going to lose marks in your board examination. It is very essential that you write the units along with the number. Otherwise, the number itself has no meaning in physics. So now we will calculate x2. We will directly write x2 is 8.5. B is 2.5, and what is the value of T2? It is 4. So we will substitute 4 square. I will directly write it as 16. 4 square will be 16. So 16 into 2.5, 25 into 16 is how much? Let's calculate that. So 2.5 into 16, you know 16 tables, you can directly do it. If not, you can multiply. So 16 times 5 is I think 20. So yeah, gets carried over. 16 times 2 is 32 plus 8, sorry, this will be 400. So you get after one digit there is a point, so this will be 40. So 16 times 5 is 80, you get 0, you 4 carried over. 16 times 2 is 32 plus 8 is 40. So therefore this will be 40. So 40 plus 8.5 will be, let's add 8.5 here, this will be 48.5. So x2 will be 48.5 meters. Okay, I hope you know how to do this multiplication. 16 times 5 is 80. So out of 80, you keep the units place here. 8 gets carried over. So 16 times 2 is 32. Just like addition, you add the 8 above. 32 plus 8 is 40. So I wrote 40. Since there was a decimal after one digit, you place the decimal after one digit, which leads us to 40. So 2.5 into 16 is 40 plus 8.5 gives you 48.5 meter. Please remember to write the units, otherwise the number as such has no meaning in physics. Okay, now that you have got your x2 and x1, substitute. You already know what is t2 and t1. You can directly calculate. So how much is x2? We'll do that. I'll give you a minute to calculate that. I'll write the numbers first. So x2 is 48.5 minus 18.5 is your x1 divided by how much is t1 and t2? 4 and 2. So it will be 4 minus 2. I'll pause for a while and then I'll reveal you the answer. Okay, hope you got the answer. If you not, let's do it. So 48.5, let's do the calculation here. 48.5 minus 18.5. So you're subtracting 5 minus 5 is 0, 8 minus 8 is 0, 4 minus 1 is 3. So this will be 30.0 divided by 2. Therefore 2 ones are 215 times is 30. So V average or the average velocity is given by 15 meter per second. Remember to write them in small letters, and as I mentioned, don't ever write meter as MTR divided by ACC. This is wrong. It has to be written as meter per second for your board examinations, and this is how you do it. So I hope you enjoyed solving the numerical with me. We will take more such numericals as we progress further. Well, now it's time to understand another physical quantity in mechanics called acceleration. Now, to understand this, I'll have to take you many centuries back to the time when the scientist Galileo Galilei existed. So why Galileo Galilei? Because the term acceleration we have to credit him for defining acceleration the right way, because back in those times, many people did believe that heavier objects travel with faster speed compared to lighter objects, and the change in speed of the object actually depended on the distance and not on the time. But this got Galileo thinking that this looks something really weird. How do we determine whether the change in speed or change in velocity of an object does depend on distance and not on time? So what he did was he did an experiment. He took an inclined plane, something like this. So this was a smooth inclined plane, okay, which was assumed to be frictionless, and he took small balls and he started rolling them over. So he saw that there are few observations he made. Okay, so he saw that the change in speed, I repeat, the change in speed or velocity, let's call it velocity, the change in velocity, okay, the change in speed or the change in velocity, I'm invariably using speed and velocity here because I'm not taking into account the direction. I'm just talking about in terms of the magnitude. So the change in speed or the change in velocity of this point object, which was made to roll down on an inclined plane, was in fact covering unequal distances, or maybe the change in velocity kept on becoming smaller, okay, kept on becoming smaller for same distances covered. Okay, I will explain this. For same distances covered. So what was his initial observation? His initial observation was, as it was made to roll down, obviously initially it was at rest. Once it started to roll down, because of the strong pull of gravity, it started to roll down really fast with a faster change in speed. Initially the speed was 0. It picked up speed. The speed increased to a certain amount, to a certain number, let's say 40 meter per second, and then to cover a distance of, let's say it covered from to cover a distance of 1 meter, it had gained a speed of, or a velocity of, 40 meter per second. So for a distance of about 1 meter, he saw that the change in speed was from 0 to 40. So it has increased from 0 to 40 meter per second. But for another same 1 meter of distance, he observed that from 40 meter to second, the change in speed did not increase or remain the same. In fact, it came down to somewhere 80, or let's say 70 meter per second. So what will be the change in speed? Earlier the change in speed was 40 meter per second minus 0, which was 40 meter per second. For the same distance, he noticed that the change in speed was 70 minus 40, the final speed minus the initial speed, which was about 30 meter per second. So he saw that for the same distances covered, which is 1 meter here, the change in velocity kept on decreasing. It became increasingly smaller and smaller. He also noticed for the same, again for 1 meter, the change in speed, it was around 60 meter per second. So for this 1 meter distance, when it was going down, surprisingly he noted that this is, this is the final speed and the initial speed. You subtract, you get to know that it is 60 minus 70. This is about 10 meter per second. So this will be minus. If you take, ideally this has to be 40 minus the final speed minus the initial speed. So you get minus. This also has to be 60 minus 70, because this is the final speed attained and this is the initial speed here. So this will be minus 10. So the speed kept on decreasing. But did it keep on decreasing in equal amounts? No. It kept on decreasing or becoming smaller and smaller in unequal amounts. So the argument that the change in velocity dependent on distance, which was the belief of many people or many scientists long ago, was scrubbed by Galileo, and through experiments he was able to establish that the change in velocity, the velocity changes in equal amounts in equal intervals of time and not in equal distances. So the rate of change of velocity with respect to time remains a constant. So what he noticed was, in same time, for example, if we took it for for about let's say 20 seconds, he saw that 20 seconds the change in speed of 20 meter, another 20 seconds the change in speed was 20 meter per second, so on and so forth. So the change in velocity remained same for equal intervals of time, 20 meter per second for every 20 seconds. So that constant is what he referred to as acceleration. If this is still not clear, we will take another everyday example, something very similar to this. Okay, let's take another example so that it becomes more clear. So let's take the example of a car rolling down uphill. Okay, so this is, let's say this is a smooth, inclined hill, and there is a car. Okay, this is a point object. I represent it as a car. It's not, okay, let's take a car. I cannot draw a car, so I'm just writing, a point object, which we regard as point object, as we have already discussed, because the size of the object is small compared to the distance that it is going to cover. So the car is initially at rest. So the initial speed of the car, the initial velocity of the car is V initial is 0. Now when you release the brakes, the car starts rolling down faster with a faster speed due to gravity. Let's say it covers 1 kilometer distance with a speed of, let us say, 80 kilometer or maybe 60 kilometer per hour. Okay, so it covered 1 kilometer distance. What was the final velocity for covering the distance of 1 kilometer? For covering a distance of 1 kilometer, the change in speed was 60. So how much is delta V? Delta V is equal to 60 kilometer per hour for covering a distance of 1 kilometer. Now as the distance advanced, for if you divide it for another 1 kilometer, so the next 1 kilometer, this next 1 kilometer, Galileo observed that the speed from 60, the speed which was here 60 kilometer per hour at this point is now, let us say it was somewhere around, instead of, it was somewhere around, let's say 85 kilometer per hour. So here the initial speed for the same distance of 1 kilometer. So the initial V initial, I'll just write as V initial was 60 kilometer per hour, and V final here was 85 kilometer per hour. So delta V in this case will be 85 minus 60, or 60 minus, final minus initial, which is 85 minus 60, which is about 25 kilometer per hour. So you saw for the same distance, the change in speed was not constant, it was decreasing, it was becoming smaller and smaller. For the next 1 kilometer, he saw that the speed was only 70 kilometer per hour. So the next 1 kilometer where he measured, so V initial in this case, how much is V initial? It was 85. So how much is V final? V final is about 70 kilometer. So how much will be delta V? Delta V will be equal to 85 minus 70, which is 15 kilometer per hour. So the change in speed for the same distance is changing in unequal amounts and is not a constant. Hence, the change in speed with distance is not a constant. Hence, he said it is weird to assume that the change in velocity takes place at the same amount for same distances, whereas experimentally he was able to prove that the change in velocity changes, or the changes in velocity is same for equal intervals of time. What do I mean by that? He noticed, for let's say for the first 30 minutes or so, the velocity change he observed was 20 kilometer per hour, that is delta V was about 20 kilometer per hour. Similarly, for the next 30 minutes, this is the next 30 minutes, also he observed that the change in speed or velocity was 20 kilometer per hour, and so on and so forth. So he assumed that the rate of change of velocity with respect to time, with respect to equal intervals of time, was noted to be a constant, and he referred to that constant as acceleration. Okay, so now can anyone think of the fact that why does for the same distance, when it is going down the slope, why is the change in velocity decreasing? Why is not the same? The reason being, there are certain factors like friction, rolling friction between the tire and the road, and as the speed increases, the air resistance also increases, which will considerably reduce the speed. Hence, you see that the change in velocity keeps on decreasing or goes smaller and smaller in unequal amounts for the same amount of distance covered, whereas the change in velocity remains same for equal intervals of time or for equal span of time, and that constant is what we refer to as acceleration. Okay, so please always remember to take care of physics, and physics will take care of you. Make sure your fundamentals that we just discussed are really clear to you, so that everything really becomes easy. You'll feel physics is really simple and easy.